So here we are again, the BioForestALC, like the first virtual forum about the potential of non-tender products for a bioeconomy in Latin America and the Caribbean. So today is the fourth and last day of our event. So the main objective was to identify and formulate joint initiatives to strengthen bioeconomy in Latin America and the Caribbean, from the development of the value chain of non-tender forest products. So on the 23rd, we began. That was our very first day. It was a moment where we were all together, like today, with a context. And the moment was like to think over with a panel related to bioeconomy. And on the second day, the 24th, we've worked in groups, like three main groups. GT1, like to train skills. The second one was trade and market. And GT3 was bioeconomy in restoration. And we exchanged a lot of experiences, and we built an action panel. On the third day, we also had a work group. We worked with two different work groups, GT4, which discussed like research and development, and GT5, financial mechanisms and environmental services, with lots of exchange in terms of knowledge from all different countries. So today we are here in the plenary room for the presentation of the results of the GT and also like prospections of possible ways to go. So Hercules will post the link on our chat of the attendance list. So please click on the link and fill the information in the attendance list. So how are we going to work today, this afternoon and beginning of the evening, for some late, for some early, many different time zones. So we had this opening moment, and then we will have the presentation of the results of the work groups that is going to be made by the coordinators of each group. So slides are not moving. So you're still on the first slide. So because we are all really welcome. Okay, now what about now? Can you see it? Yes, we can see it. We are in the event program. So just like so everyone knows. So here we have the chat, and also you can click in this little globe and you can select English, Portuguese, or Spanish for the live interpretation, and you can choose the language you wish to hear. This is very important. So our program for the day, we have the opening, and then the presentation of results of the working groups. Then we will begin a panel about like fostering forest bioeconomy in Latin America and the Caribbean, with many different lecturers, very special ones. And also we will have further actions. And then in the end, we will do the closing ceremony. So for us to begin, I will ask Hercules to post the web link so we can get to know everyone. So we have lots of people here, and we want to know where you're coming from, what is your institution, the category of the institution that you belong to. So I will kindly ask you, so Hercules has posted the link on the chat, so please click on the link and give us a little bit of your profile information. So where are you now? Brazil, Costa Rica, the United States, Colombia, and France. All right, so countries are coming. All right. And here we have lots of universities, NGOs, government institutions, companies, and other representatives. So you're all welcome. So please, and we will continue and filling up all the information. All right, so now we'll move on to the presentation of the results of the working groups. So who's going to make the presentation? The coordinators of each group. So Janaína Diniz, Colby Soares, Roger Villa-Lobos, Fatima Brito, and Fabiana Prado. So just reminding you that those who were not here, so as you know, we've worked in 5 groups. So GT1 was the training of capacities. GT2 was the marketing and markets for the bioeconomy. GT3 was bioeconomy of forest restoration. GT4 was research and development for an inclusive bioeconomy. And the last one was financial mechanisms and environmental services. We've worked in a group where we had a moment that we could exchange experiences. So people, from all the contribution of all the participants, we raised opportunities and challenges, and we got some of them. And we checked what needed to be done, raising proposals and actions, so we could exponentially expand and solve bottlenecks. So now I will invite Janaína. Janaína, the floor is yours. So I am Janaína Dias, and I was the moderator with Professor Álvaro and Professor Patricia. So moderation was with Adriana. So the main objectives of these groups were like to discuss and think about possibilities to promote the exchange of knowledge, so we can have like empirical, technical, and scientific knowledge, aiming to the formation of capacities for the implementation of an inclusive bioeconomy. So here we have a snapshot of a page that the group was reduced. So it was a smaller group in discussion, and it was a cross-subject. Then we had a migration to other specifics. We had 32 people attending, and this was taken at the end of the day. We only had like 20 people around. So we have half people like Brazilians, and we have people from Bolivia, Peru, and Colombia. So here, we did not see like Peru and Bolivia, but besides, we had Colombia, Germany, Argentina, and Costa Rica. And most of the government institutions and universities and non-governmental organizations and NGOs that we could identify. And then like cooperatives and associations. So we also had, as the others saw it, so this was the lectures like to show like the experiences and the recommendation here, the inclusion of other challenges or opportunities. So we worked also with some of them that had been set up along during the preparatory phase, and presentations came like different levels of background. The first presentation was that the GAP program, generating capacities for the management of family farming and traditional peoples. It's a very interesting experience of the German cooperation, International Cooperation Agency, GIS, and aiming technical assistances, and everything is updated at each edition according to new context. The second presentation was Evelyn Chaves, our partner in the setup of this event, from training and the technical assistance from Costa Rica, and she made a very interesting presentation related to technical assistance and also development methods to strengthen the knowledge in rural associative enterprises, and highlighting the training and capacities. It doesn't follow like an automatic process that must be adjusted in each specific context. And then in the end, Professor Patricia from the University of Pará in Brazil, she presented a very interesting experience with the postgraduate students with the use of like a specific methodology, problem-based learning for the territorial bioeconomy, in which she forces students to like knowledge areas, integrating the subject of bioeconomy. We have, I was going to move to the other one where I was highlighting the political agents in the implementation of the bioeconomy. So I'd like to make this a topic like popular, is a subject of one of the postgraduate courses in Latin America and the Caribbean. And one of the main actions, and maybe eventually was like to expand this offer of courses like law to censor with specializations, master's degrees, and focusing in bioeconomy. We talked about other kinds of trainings, but this would be more specifically focused in bioeconomy, because we have lots of people from the community already requesting for donations. I highlight what more that was like to offer courses for postgraduated and graduated students, where we could have the time for the training in the university, and also they could go to the field and they would have the time to work and see how it works in the field, all the training that they receive. And last, it was a very specific point. We had people from Colombia and from Bolivia recognized the capacity and give visibility to the bioeconomy values that involve communities in the Amazon region, like localized communities where the implementation of productive projects that are conducted, like specific actions in the region. So like to promote actions that value initiatives of bioeconomy with social implications. So like specific training focusing on that public, and also promoting as a consequence the management of the peace seals, which was going to be a very interesting to implement good practices. So another very interesting action, like to promote environmental education, focusing in marketing, before focusing on the seals. So it was discussed that many consumers do not understand what is the meaning of the seal. So not only the seal, but also other attributes of local products. So we had 33 main challenges, but we've highlighted only 5. We will get into a little bit more detail. And then when we close, we were all inspired and happier with many different ideas, with more context and understanding new methodologies that were presented. So in terms of expectations, so we want to develop like a joint project for training and development of skills in an on-site meeting. And this is something that can be worked on in our next meeting or in the preparatory meetings. Also, like the set up like a big group for the development of bioeconomy, dive a little bit deeper in the subject. So then we can interact with other stakeholders, and also that we can make happen all the proposed objectives. So I believe that this is it. That's the last one. Thank you, Janaína. So I apologize. So now I will call Colby, like to present GT2. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the WWF Brazil, and I'm along with my mate Bruna here. And we worked in the GT2, dealing with marketing and markets for the bioeconomy. The main objectives of our group, they were discuss and propose economic and organizational strategies based on the development of value chains that include and strengthen indigenous peoples and local communities. Next slide, please. So no audio in Spanish. All right, can you hear now? Spanish. So Kobe, you may continue. When it comes like to the participation, the moment that we had more people in our round table, we had around 78 people from many different parts of the world. And in the next slide, we can see the countries of the 78 participants. We had like the French Guyana, Colombia, Brazil, Suriname, United States, Bolivia, Italy, and the United Kingdom. So a lot of different friends from all over the world. The sound is pretty bad. I apologize. We can't hear. The case studies that were presented. So are you in the Portuguese channel? Can you hear me? Uh, yes, yes. Now we can hear him. Copy, go ahead. Yes. I have a lot of echo here. Okay, continue. Why? Ah, man. So we were working with the partnership between the Central, the Cerrado and Botanic Origins, and then this was presented by this organization and Botanica. And we were trying to find ways to set up like partnership between company and community in the development of rubber value chains. Also like the seal, ensuring like the standing forest and with non-governmental agencies. And number 4 was the sustainable use of biodiversity project presented by Sandra and Javier from the University in Argentina. And opportunities and challenges were found and identified 28 opportunities and 30 challenges. But the main opportunities were like to disclose products less known and a fair trade and payment, strategy of payment for environmental services, and a partnership between community associations, support organizations, government, and local companies, and also like incentivize the consumers to accept the heterogeneity of products and partnership between companies that act fairly in the international trade market. And for last, to find the use and attributes related to biodiversity. And in terms of challenges, the main ones were to promote the transition to bioeconomy in a fair, inclusive fashion, reducing inequalities, regenerating, recovering the forest environment, along with the traditional knowledge, combine the bioeconomy, the logic of scale in the market. And we have the example of acai, and also like increase the commitment of the community companies, logistic, and be capable of informing the benefits of products to consumers, preventing differentiation internal to the social groups, be strong as a result of organizations for trading, identifying bioeconomy on a local basis that already exists, and also be very careful not to overexplore these chains, respecting the time for production and their communities, and also integrating in a harmonic way all the different stakeholders involved in the different stages of the biodiversity products. So when it comes to the challenges, the first one is to promote the transition for bioeconomy with justice, inclusion, biodiversity, reducing inequalities, regeneration, recovery, adding technologies along with the traditional knowledge. So the main idea is what we must do in relation to promoting bioeconomy with justice. We have to foster partnerships with companies that practice a fair trade and incentivize research of the value chains in university based on success cases, creating models and fostering the circular economy, structuring the predictive base of the value chain with the stimulus in training, technologies, and financing. respecting all different characteristics and differences of the communities, and have an adequate market that foster inclusion, creating public policies that ensure the land for the traditional peoples and communities, developing technology that value the products, develop Brazilian industry to add value and promote the domestic economy, and also promote an incentive for the young to remain in their territory and empower women. In terms of the challenges related to logistics, what do we have to do? Give accessibility in terms of like roads, internet, and funding. Develop e-commerce. In this case, we need internet and storage places for the products. And like promote, make the production to get closer, creating norms and regulations to promote access for funding and access to water, and not prioritize the postal services. This is in the case of Brazil. And also like create organization networks that represent the small organizations. And then create like and promote and then we have like very good examples such as Magazine Luiza in Brazil, and add value in the origin of the product and guide the localization of plants, and also enhance the quality of the production of products in natura. And then when it comes like to opportunities, so partnerships between community associations and support organizations, and also governments and local businesses. We must create incentive policies to promote the relationship, such as a reduction of taxes and fees. We have to create insertion policies paying like the minimum price in biodiversity products. And we have to add and look for strategies for all the different groups. Create intelligent strategies to sensitize and have a project for the solution, and add public policies that already exist, and add partners. Look for different strategies for the differentiated groups. And lastly, follow the support in the terms of the organization of the territories, training and financing, and the other opportunities. Fair trade. What do we have to do? Have shared information for all the links and the chain, so we can have fair relationships, such as the example of the certification of the origin seals in Brazil. The trackability of all products should create transparency, promoting knowledge about the origin of the products, and also, and in the Brazilian case, so the applicability of the biodiversity law that already exists in Brazil, and also the trackability of the products. And I believe that this is the last. And when it comes like to opportunities, a strategy for payment for environmental services also implemented with the support of the company. So what do we have to do? Research to know the price of the products. We have to disclose information to consumers and services that are included in the product. Also, like incentivize the carbon market in Brazil. This is valid for Brazil and other countries, and make the companies know the services that are being offered and related to biodiversity of the peoples and communities and what they produce, and also the cultural values. And one observation that we have here. So disclose other products that are least known. This is something that we have to do. Use networks, social networks, use television, interviews, fairs, and newspapers. Disclose information, the history of the products, and the values of the communities that produce them. And we have to stimulate consumers like to taste, to try the products, inviting chefs and so on. Promote a national campaign about social biodiversity products. So the opportunities and challenges were identified. So when we were living like GT number 2, so people, they used adjectives, very positive ones, and it generated results, connected, and so on. Very good, interested, experiences, inspiration, contributions, motivated, and so on. And many adjectives that were mentioned that express the positiveness of the discussions in the group. And what were your expectations to continue after the event? The main ones were like the groups exchanging experience and diving deeper in dialogues, co-create an action plan, and our action plan was mentioned by many different colleagues, and we should have like something concrete in terms of the follow-ups, and also like continue debating with subjects related to the bioeconomy, non-tender products, and also with the weight of all the present institutions, that the debate may continue in a different way, like email groups, action plans, continue sharing experiences and socialize our experiences. And the next one. So basically, this is it. Thank you all for your attention. And I would like to thank Bruna, that was providing support for this group, along with me, and Lucy, who was the moderator in this group. So this is it. Now I'll pass the floor to group number 3. So thank you. Now I will invite Jorge Villalobos to present GT3. Floor is yours. I was in the bioeconomy, forest restoration, and Jorge from GACHI. So the main objectives of the group were to discuss possibilities of implementing landscape restoration and forest restoration for the development of the bioeconomy, considering the importance of these activities in mitigating the impact of climate change. So we had a participation, like a lot of people from Brazil, Costa Rica, Suriname, and Colombia. Most of the people were from universities and NGOs. And some government institutions. And there was one person from the community group and another person who was from other groups. So the shared experiences were like Leonardo Urruth from the South Network of Restoration in Brazil. The second presentation was from Natalia Albuquerque from the Forest Service in Brazil, and so we talked about like the Arboretum program for the conservation and restoration of the forest diversity. And we had Eduardo Malta Campos that talked about the Redario, like the seed network for restoration. And also we talked about like non-tender forest products and restoration with their challenges and opportunities. So our group, it was difficult for our group to identify the opportunities. So we've listed 21 challenges and 15 opportunities. And among the main challenges, we had So before talking about the challenges, I will mention some of the legal aspects of related to the conversations we had. So all dialogues enable us that we have many different ecosystems, many different environments, cultural diversity, and different needs related to restoration. So it's important that we need to look at it as a with a more holistic vision. And Leonardo talked about the restoration and production. And he also talked about the bureaucracy that regulates all activities or user licenses and access to land. So we also talked about very complex issues that impose difficulties in terms of the products and high cost for processing and developing new markets. So we know that we have some links and challenges between production and restoration. And we also talked about certification, agroforestry, and the importance of public policies to promote the use and species conservation, and also like providing support to the productive challenge chains. And Natalia talked about working with the synergies with the different species, and she talked about the link between the restoration and conservation of the forest diversity. She also talked about this call for agencies in the communities, and talked about the landscape conservation. She also talked about models like productive and diverse models and the role of the bioprospection. So Eduardo Malta talked about very interesting experiences related to local participation of stakeholders and collaborators, and the importance of like counting with local materials for the restoration, and seed typology for the different uses and ecosystems, and the possibility to work with the diversification of the economy. He also talked about the public policies and informations related as such as the quality of information for decision making. And then we also talked about the different kinds of restoration that are adapted to our objectives and how we can integrate these productive business models in bioeconomy. And when it comes like to the main challenges, to promote the transaction to a bioeconomy that has like a justice, reduction of inequality, and also like use of technology and traditional knowledge. And we also talked about actions.
And also the social equity that we insert in the bioeconomy. There was a discussion about what is biodiversity and what is not bioeconomy. If we're going to work with big companies and if we work for the sustainable use and value them in the best way possible for deforestation, it has also spoken about the methodologies of recovery in the different biomes in the different countries in the bioeconomy to identify the technical issues, the lesions, and the costs about restoration. We have talked about the increase of incentives, productions to expand the access to resources, and also the value to the primary landscape, primary forests. We have also mentioned observations about the different proposals of restoration and that we need to define what are from the bioeconomy and what are not. And when it comes to creating laws and policies for the production in the bioforest bureaucracy. There was a need of technical assistance to promote biotechnology and bioeconomy as a very stable possibility, with a focus in the public restoration policies, so that in the current strategies for the restoration, we have the biovisibility for the bioeconomy. We have spoken about values, advances in the biodiversity for the incentives. So we have avoided change in the different areas and the monocultures. We have spoken about the policies that differentiate themselves in the good practices and the bad practices. So, the urgencies of the primary model that are being deforested in with more intensity, and what they mean in the different regions. So, unifying this concept, and they exist after the human intervention. So, you have 2 minutes, Jorge, okay? So the inclusion of the restoration and the construction of the bioeconomy, there were actions with the forum, the international forum that exists in this decade, and the bioeconomy, which is included as one strategy of restoration. So on the other moment, there is a value chain, productive chain, and diversifying the production for us to be able to bring this funding, for us to understand how the market works, and for us to make these links with the investors. These observations were said about Brazil having a good forest reserve, but having to develop the right exploitation systems, and the primary systems can have this intervention. That doesn't mean that they are not going to be preserved, but it needs to be in an adequate way. So we need to discuss if in the bioeconomy we will be able to talk to the autochthon and also the natural vegetation. They are qualified as products of the non-timber products. There are also products and services of the sector for the ones that want to do a productive restoration. And the analysis of the costs have to do with each particular situation. There were also challenges when it comes to the models of restoration, the bioeconomy, and the recovery of the landscape. We have also spoken about the inversion of the experiences. So there's a part in the system that has to do with the restoration and the inclusion of the indigenous peoples in the restoration. This process of knowledge has to do with the recognition of the indigenous people in the conservation of the forests. There is also an inclusion of the carbon credit projects, taking care of the impacts when we do the reforestation. Jorge, I'm so sorry, but the time is almost up. We have the expansion of the vision of the bioeconomy, considering the distinct products, productive sectors, expanding the use of the bioenergy, the promotion of health, the generation and prevention of zoonosis, and the health offers um, this to the people when we do it in the right way. We also have talked about taking advantage of the restoration decade with the UN to potentialize the different areas and the expansion of the non timber products as well. We need to talk about a language of restoration process for the restoration and not think that this has to do with the production. This can contribute to the social movement and expand the this matter in the times of the academic challenges that we face. At the end of this discussion, the words were positive. We spoke about the optimism, happiness. People were happy, they were motivated with new knowledge, new expectations, and they were instigated with everything. So I would like to thank you all for the contribution in the forum. I don't know if there is any expectation, but there is the new forums that can be here, and we are really happy about that. We can plan the future and the work together. In particular to Marcela, Marcia, and everyone that collaborated. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So now we have already done this presentation. I'm going to invite Fatima to present the GT4. Please put the microphone in the original so that the translators can hear in a better quality, okay? So mine needs to be in the original or in Portuguese. You have 10 minutes, okay? Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Our work group, do you hear me now? Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fatima Brito. Our work group is number 4, and we are going to talk about the inclusive network, and Ana, Eule, and Janaína have participated as well from the University of Brasilia. You can pass. So the objective of this work was to discuss these actions for the development of a interdisciplinary and continuous way, aiming in adding value for the implementation and inclusive bioeconomy. This is a image that was taken at the end of the discussion of our work group. We've had several participants. There were not that many at that time, just some of them. During our work, In the beginning of our work, we asked where people were, and we had the participation of Suriname, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, French Guiana, and France. You can pass the slide. From these participants, we also asked what institution they were linked to. The majority of them were universities and institutions of the government, non governmental institutions, and two others. In the work group, we have done three experiences presentation. We talked about the research in Embrapa with the non-timber products and the use of the mate herb as well. Cristiana has talked about how they did that in Embrapa. We also had the national overview of Embrapa's research and the yerba mate and araucaria seed, the acai's action, the co-construction of knowledge and consolidation of quality markets for social biodiversity products, and the management of chakra by Quechua families in the Ecuadorian Amazon. So they all participated and they were very interesting. So during the work that we have raised, we had many challenges and some opportunities. From these opportunities, we have voted about the challenges and opportunities. We have found out what needed to be done to overcome these gaps. So the first challenge that we had was the promotion of the transition of the bioeconomy that we want with inclusion and the reduction of inequality, the generation of the forest recovery, and the aggregation of the traditional knowledge. With this challenge, many people have contributed, and we have sent them several post-its that we're going to put here in the screen. The movement of several actions of the society that can reach the value chain and they're consolidated, the search for the different partnerships in a more collaborative way, and the elaboration of proposals for proposing multilateral understandings of the governments. So the development of the human resource in the territory is really important. Uh, this transversal knowledge of the Amazon forest is extremely important. So we have replicated this. So we share the Caribbean and Latin American experiences through a repository website, and that is administered by everyone involved to integrate the labs of research with non-timber products and the protocols of research, exchange of best practices, and the traditional knowledge of these people. Also work with the equity and the symmetry of the different partners to look for the private sector that work with the non-timber products and the development of this research for new products. To elaborate a open letter for in our forum, BioForestALC. We also had a process.
So we had a consultative process along with the civil society in many different countries. So who knows, with the leadership of the Amazonian University to identify the main demands for research in order to avoid the top down and that the demands like to mobilize the Ministry of Science and Technology of industrialized countries to form a network of research from a document that would be created from this forum. With this challenge, also we had an observation that it's important that the transition towards the bioeconomy that we want, it's important that this transition is followed by state investments. And the next challenge that we also discussed extensively is the knowledge about the ecology of species that are non-tinder and the construction of maneuver protocols. And in this challenge, what we gather in terms of job to be done is to rank the native species to take advantage and provide the necessary tooling for the local processing, and also list all the species that have protective chains established, and also like foresee the production. And also we have to promote like research and the disclosure of schedules that can be used in local circuits, such as school meals. And this is part of the education and information about the species. And many people do not know seasonality and provide support to the communities in terms of the creation of protocols based on best practices and also scientific technical knowledge, and provide the support to communities and associations in terms of like harvest and storage and transportation and production costs and ecosystem valuation from their empirical knowledge with the collaboration of technical scientific knowledge, and also like list all the associations of producers inside that may provide support in terms of processing and storage of the products to be traded, and train producers with trainings of sanitization and good practice of manipulation and development and processing of products. In relation to the opportunities, we got this opportunity here that that we had more discussion on it. Investments in predictive chains that create job positions. And what was discussed was like to provide support and foster programs of innovation in universities and public institutions geared to the solution of technological bottlenecks and for the promotion of competitiveness in the product chain. Here, we also talk about technology to provide us support and look for public and private support for the companies in studies that are already consolidated in the productive chains. So look for partnership with companies that work with these products, and look for international and domestic funding and to promote like the creation of new value chains in the Caribbean and Latin America, and also promote institutions of technical and priority chain values. And then in the end, we had a few questions so people could write in up to 3 words how they were leaving the meeting. And many people wrote that they were living like optimistic, motivated, stronger, and a clear vision of the future, lots of content, and many ideas for research, very hopeful and persistent and thrilled. And that means that it was something very positive. So what was mentioned was very positive, and the expectation for the continuity post-event. Work in a big network about non-tinder forestal products in Latin America and the Caribbean, and also like enhance knowledge and look with more objectiveness to the local reality and enhance knowledge. Also like to form a network of researchers and other stakeholders involved with the bioeconomy in the forest, contribute with a local discussion about bioeconomy, and that the proposals raised can be followed through. This is it. Thank you. For those who are listening to me and those who are with us until now, I'd like to thank everyone who collaborated with us, that we could be living this moment now. So thank you, Fatima. So now Fabiana. Hello, everyone. So I want to talk to you about our group of like financial mechanisms and environmental services. I was the coordinator along with my ISBN friend Juliana Napolitano and Marcela, who helped us with the moderation. The main objectives of the group were to discuss financial mechanisms capable of promoting the development of value chains with a focus on an inclusive bioeconomy. And then we've discussed, so this is a snapshot of the group, just to see who was there. We had lots of women. It was a very inclusive group. Moving on. So we had many people from Brazil, but also from Bolivia, France, United States, Colombia, Argentina, Costa Rica, the United Kingdom. So we had a lot of people, very diversified in terms of like countries. So the kind of organization that they belong to, we had lots of universities, NGOs, government institutions, companies, and others. And it showed a diversity, very important, many different sectors with us. We had 3 presentations. The first one was from Connectus Institute with Impact Finance Platform for Social Biodiversity, and they explained how they work financing projects. Then we had the Bioeconomy company talking about like credit carbon trading mechanisms, and they brought a very interesting experience that they are currently carrying on with the reserve in the Amazon region and how the whole process works. And we had Little Fund, which is a blended finance arrangement that came from the Ecological Research Institute. And it's an arrangement to provide support to some of the value chains related to biodiversity. The main challenges that we had, challenges and opportunities, we had 22 challenges and 17 opportunities. And looking at the other groups, we had more opportunities than challenges. So all the groups, we had more challenges than opportunities. So maybe this is something related to us here in Latin countries, but we selected some of the points that the group understood as more important, and we selected some of them. So we talked a lot about arrangements for funding related to the bioeconomy. One of the main points that we notice in terms of challenge is the lack of arrangements for the offer of credit and private input, and also public, capable to be executed by the people and traditional communities. And so we discussed one of the things that can be done is to get people like close to one another, because in Brazil, we have many different sources of funding, like the funding agencies and also like the small businesses, so they can understand each other, how everything works, the base and the funding agencies, so we can have a proper alignment, and then the results are more productive. Another point that was discussed is related to mechanisms that could be a little bit more flexible. So the small and mid community business could try and the credits with different arrangements. And another point that we discussed a lot that was unanimous, that it's important to have like a financial education, promote financial education in the groups. And another important point, that it's important for the banks that already provide fundings, the ones that assess credit in the biodiversity chains, they also provide more support to the cattle raising and all the chains. And it's a lot easier for them to look at those projects, and it's more difficult for them to look at the projects of the biodiversity value chain, that they are a little bit different. Now, Lucy, moving on. Another point was the lack of a hybrid finance arrangements with reimbursed and non-reimbursed funds. So we talked a lot about the need of non-reimbursed funds for groups of small projects, that there is a lot of asymmetry in terms of knowledge, so they can have access to credit that are reimbursed. So there is a difference of different kinds of businesses, and this group still needs to be worked and have more access to non-reimbursed projects due to this asymmetry. But also, these projects, they also must work with an institutional learning. This is important, that they can manage the projects in a long run to create an institutional culture to obtain access to reimbursed funds, and also work with the strengthening of the institutional strengthening in the administrative and financial management of the business. And another thing that was brought is to create a network of non-reimbursed funds. So some ideas are here, and moving on. Next slide. So you can skip this one. I will get back to it later because it's a little bit out of order. And another point that we discuss is the technical assistance, so credit associated to the technical assistance offer and extension, focusing in management, production, processing, and trade. So this is a a point that is very important for the project, offer this kind of consultancy for each line of financing. And also we had the idea to use like non-reimbursed funds to promote technical assistance, and also like share responsibilities both for the technicians and for the communities.
Them to have this co-responsible participation in the technical assistance as we go. So you can go back to the other slide, okay? Thank you. We have 2 minutes, okay? Okay. So we've talked about the lack of knowledge. You went too far. There's a lack of knowledge. So this carbon market is very new to us. To bring this transparency to this mechanisms and how to measure this credit, we can make this approach to the different communities and the different knowledge holders that can provide more knowledge and experience. You, we have also spoken about the mechanism of TSA and the policies of non-governmental understandings that we have and the minimum price that we have here. So the information for them to create this fund, which is a PSA fund for us to support them all. For you to have an idea, that is what is done. You can go ahead, Lucy. Next one. Everyone has motivated themselves in the group, as you can see in the inspiring words and the expectations. There's a lot to say about this, what we're going to do today, this action, encounters, this network is very important for us to continue with. I think that's it. Thank you so much for everyone that have participated here in the group. So for everyone that has brought their experience, thank you so much. Thank you, Fabiana. Thank you, all the coordinators. If anyone is in the chat, if you have any question, you can put them in the chat. And it's interesting for us to see the number of challenges and opportunities that we can raise. There were several proposals, and so there are some challenges and some proposals that are seen here. We are going to do this at the end of the event to have this information, and so that we can put this into practice to expand this more and more in the bioeconomy and make that more inclusive. Continuing on, we're going to continue our panel for the bioeconomy in the forest and Caribbean with very special invitees. So, Sandra, it's your turn. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here doing this moderation in this panel that is so important and so weighted. I'm sorry that we had problems with the translation. That's why we are a little bit late. but we didn't have any problem before. So I'm so sorry we didn't have any problems before, but now everything has been solved. Now we are going to have this fermentation of Latin America and the Caribbean. So we're going to have 5 people participating in these different groups in these presentations. So Fabiano has started now in this work group that we had, the mechanisms that we've had to make them more and more close to the bottom, the ones that are participating with the resources. So we are going to start working and practicing in these different areas. So I would like to start by calling Nativ Moura, who is one of the owners of the Amazon Fund and that works in the social forum. So this department has more than 30 years of age, and that is the management of the Amazon Fund and the development of strategies for the forest, bioeconomy, biodiversity. We are going to have the pleasure to count with Mr. Nabil, who participates in BNDS for 20 years, in the implementation of public policies in the social area and the environmental area. With you, we are really happy to have Nabil here with us in this table. Hello, good afternoon. Does everyone hear me well? Yes. So I'd like to thank you so much. It's always a very important moment for us to divide ourselves in the international and national forums and the experience that we have in the development bank, in the agenda of the Brazilian forest. We are going to have 70 years of age this year, and we have this purpose that is so strong, looking for solutions in the different areas of the country. We have worked in a very close way with this conviction that we have several opportunities and that if we do not do anything about the biodiversity in the center of the strategy of the medium and long term, we're not going to be able to reach the potentialities that Brazil has in its agenda. The forest agenda, the biome agenda, is always in the centrality of any type of strategy in a medium and long term in the country. Since we are very big with many opportunities, we have a lot of biodiversity that our knowledge, not only knowledge but also practice, and our people and traditional communities that aggregate so much to our agenda in the protection and conservation of the country. I would like to thank you all for this space. We have a very long history in the bioeconomy. I like to say that we are talking about the concept of bioeconomy because it's a very broad concept, it's very big, and can be interpreted in different ways. for those who are listening to that. So I really like to put everything in a very clear way. During the years, we have referred to that in bioforestry. We have many interpretations about that. I try to summarize this in a different way. So, what can we do to generate income and to decrease inequality through the conservation and the sustainable use of our biomes? So, it can be biomass, bioenergy, but we need to have these concepts. The reduction of inequalities through the conservation and preservation of our biomes. The biome needs to be working in a very functional way for all of the territories to work in a proper way. We are going to have the support of many big projects in the Amazon region with the resource of the Amazonic fauna, and we are going to have Ipelira and the development of that in the parameter of our projects, but also we're going to have here, we're going to look at the challenges of the bioforests. So many of the things that we're doing here, all of the points raised, and we do not have the competence in terms of responsibility to solve all of the problems or to give answers to all of the challenges. We are just a financial instrument and we need to count with other partners in the municipal area and the third sector to be able to overcome these challenges. But inside what we already do and our competence of work, we have been able to find financial mechanisms that are innovative and in a concrete way we can give scale to it and capillarity with the invitation of the book of that. For those who don't know it, we are in Rio de Janeiro. We have many people that work with us as partners, and the more partners we have, the more we can reach people. So, in this family of new solutions of bioeconomy, we have now the opportunity to make this support. We have many solutions that can be accessed, both in credit, both in guarantees. We have many opportunities that are already in place for us to give this importance in this work group. So, I would like to start in the sequence of the groups. We've talked about the capacity building, and we have this conviction. If we don't work in the basis of the generation of knowledge, we are not going to be able to have this forest bioeconomy in the Amazon region that is reinforced with the youth. Although many of this youth are in the post graduation, what we have now in the Amazon region is that we do not have a trail of study that is taken to this moment. So we have this partnership with the Ministry of Education, with the new high education that comes from 15, 17 years old. The basic curriculum of the area should be linked to the bioeconomy. So this calling is open. We are going to do this to generate and increment the educational institutes in Brazil. We know that it's really important, the centers of study and the institutions of study that are superior and that are linked to this technological review.
And it's a reality in the region that many of these technological centers, they do not have access to resources like to develop solutions for the forestal bioeconomy. So we made a partnership with a Brazilian company like industrial innovation company. And just for you to have an idea, more than 70 technological institutions accredited in Brazil. In the Amazon, we only have 2. And I'm talking about like all the states in the Amazon region. We only have like 2 among the 70. So there's a regional inequality in the qualification and capacitation of these technological institutes to access resources and promote the bridge with the companies. So with this partnership that we've created, we have the expectation to expand the number of accredited technological institutes with a public notice of technological institutes will be open next Tuesday, May 31st. We'll open the public notice for the accreditation of new technological institutions related to the forestal bioeconomy. And why is this important? But once they are accredited in this innovative system, the technological institutions will have access to non-reimbursed resources, like building partnership with companies to develop new technologies along with the communities and other companies. So this work is being carried on along with Embrapin. And another very good surprise that in this workflow for the 71 that we have already enrolled, there is a stage of we ask for technological institutions what kind of topics they would like to work on. And to our surprise, the forestal bioeconomy was the most looked after among 7 others that were available. We had 7 topics for the partnership available, and most of them wanted to adhere to the forestal bioeconomy. So you see that this topic is being valued by the institutes as we've enabled those who are already accredited. We're strengthening the opening of new fostering that for that to happen in the public notice. And we are working in this base of technology connect to local production and the market of the buyers, that they also have their technological development nuclei. And this is also related with the GT3 group. When we talk about the forestal restoration, the Bnds has a consolidated history in the restoration of the Atlantic forest. We have more than 10 years acting and working with restoration projects with the biome in the Atlantic area. So we have some initiatives towards the reforestation, but they were small because they were like public notice related to the Atlantic forest, and amounts to that like 3 to 7 million reais. And we noticed that if we could use some other mechanisms that were developed in the bank, mostly related to the COVID pandemic, and we learn with internal stories. And by the end of the last year, we had another initiative that was a match fund. So BNDS obtained resources from the Social Environmental Fund, which is a non-reimbursed fund, and promotes a match, like 50-50, with companies, governments, public and private companies that are interested in donating for the forest restoration action. So we had a public notice, like to become like the managers of this partnership, and they are chosen in the realm of the selective project. And one institution from the third sector in Brazil, well known, was selected, was chosen. Very important for the management of resources. And to our surprise, and this is important for me to share with you. So when we launched this project, we were expecting to mobilize 500,000 reais for the reforestation agenda. And we were imagining that we were going to do that in 2 years' time. In May, 6 months later, after the launch of this initiative, we gathered more than 680,000 in 6 months. That shows us that there is a huge interest of like donations for these kinds of initiatives, and they were looking for a specific channel that could be. And when we talk about like scale, we are talking with all the different biomes, Caatinga, Cerrado, and mangroves, Atlantic forest, and the Amazon. It's a robust agenda for restoration. So we will have a lot of bottlenecks. We know that already, according to the experience that we have. So we must be extremely careful with the specifications and the selection. Everything is going to be done through public notice for the selection of the projects. So a lot of people here can participate in the public notice. Our expectation is to celebrate contracts along like the next 2 months, and then launch the first notice at the beginning of H2. So I'll try to be brief here. So there is another point that was important to mention in terms of like commercial strategy. So we found out that with this forest agenda, it could be in different sectors, and we could propose it at the right time. So BNDS has a project called BNDS Garage. It's for the acceleration of startups and small innovative projects. So BNDS Garage, lots of things happening, but what did we do? We put in the forest bioeconomy and Amazon as a priority area. So the notice was opened yesterday, and it's open for the insertion of startups, good ideas, so they can receive the bank support. And the main points for the region and for the topic itself. And then lastly, one thing that I would like to share with you is what is a blended finance? And so blended finance seems to be a little bit confusing, but those are hybrid mechanisms for the bioforestal agenda. So here you have like the non-reimbursed, so you have like insurance and guarantee, everything with the same objective. So what we are trying to do since 2018, and the Amazonian Fund, that we could not use the resource for the past 3 years. We had to develop an internal product. So the bank developed a fund, a new fund called BNDS Blended Fund. And we have 3 objectives: urban development, bioeconomy, and we could use in the same phase and this was launched May 9. Proposals will come to us up to the 8th of July. We have the public notice on our webpage, so we can clear doubts and ask questions. And we have to do that in the public fashion. And we get the questions and then we place the answers in a public fashion. And we had a specific webinar that has been recorded and available in our website. So all these examples that I'm giving to you is just like to tell you what we've been trying to do, like repositioning the different agendas and the core of this work strategy in relation to the forest agenda. So we have all the different agendas and all the different sectors that are not as traditional. We consider like a community-based tourism and cultural activities connected to the forest that generate income and also bioeconomy. That's why we say that it's a very broad concept, so we can look at everything that we are most interested in to ensure that we are going to create new solutions that reduce inequalities in income and regional inequalities as the maintenance and evaluation of the standing forest, working accordingly. So it has to be a healthy forest, not only standing up, but the ecosystem should be in perfect balance. This is what we look for. Find financial solutions or that provide support by means of public policies that can look and address this subject in the way that I'm talking to you about. So I've given you some examples. There are many others. I did not bring a presentation. I'd rather talk, but I'm open to questions that may eventually come. But once again, thank you very much for the invitation. We are always available. So I talked about 5, but there are other examples that I could mention using all the full capacity of our team, working for more than 10 years in this topic. So lots of people, I won't name them all, but we have so many people with us working so we can make this agenda to happen. So thank you, Nabil. So we do have some questions here for you. So it's really nice to hear all these things related to Bnds and forest and biodiversity in the core of the development. So this sounds like music to our ears. And we have a lot of questions here. And in your specific case, so we'll pass these questions to you, and then we will send, we'll address the questions, and we selected 3 of them that I have already received here in the chat. I don't know if you can see them. So one is from Fabiana Prado, that you know well. She's here with us. And she asks, so this project, like restoration projects by Fumbio, are only for civil society organizations or for companies as well? So ask another question, and then I will open for you to answer. And please just be very brief with your answers. So I have another one from Masi Yamaush, from Kachi, that he says it's very interesting, the proposal. And he asks, so what kind of projects in terms of restoration can be there, like small, big ones, productive only for reforestation? What is the scale? If you could talk briefly about that. And then I will move on to the last one. And good, and then you can answer all of them. And Janaína Diniz from the University in Brasilia. So BNDES works with the the calls that could foster like partnerships and interchanges among Latin American countries for the training, research, development of organizations that work with social biodiversity products with focus in the forest or bioeconomy. Just one more question, and then maybe Nabil can answer using the chat. Adriana, she just like sent the question. So I would just like answer them briefly. So when it comes like to Floresta Viva, so Nabil, that is a problem with your sound. I think that your microphone is just pretty bad, like we can't hear you well. Oh, thank you so much. It was just like clear hitting my glasses. So as I've mentioned too many things, what is the match fund? So the number of resources of companies along with Bnds for the forestal agenda. It has a very specific objective of restoration.
But it is for projects that you present for small family agriculture and the units of conservation and the territory and com- the communities, the traditional communities for any biome in Brazil. So now in the forest systems and the executors, they're going to be done with the callings. So we have the capture of these non-fundable events. We have the communities of the proprietaries and this project of restoration. On the other hand, I have already used this issue and the forum of Latin America, or we are always at the disposal to participate or to reach a point of having a Montevideo room, but it was closed in 2016. Now we are here in the national and international events. We are here to develop ideas. I'm going to leave my contact number here for you guys to talk to me. We participate in many things, and from the departments here in the social area, the most internationalized one are from this area. We have international events and the big meetings in general. Do you want to do, Adriana? We only have 5 minutes, but we are a little bit ahead. We are late. So maybe if you could answer her through the chat, we need to pass the floor to someone else, okay? Thank you so much for your participation. We're going to continue in contact with each other, okay? Okay, no problem. We're gonna do that, please. So now I'd like to call Bento Koa, who is from the agency and the coordinator of GIZ Brazil. It acts in this function. It's in Freiburg, in Germany, and he's well formed in for more than 20 years, and he works there for many years as well. Before that, he works in CEFOR here in Belém, Brazil. This linked to Embrapa. It's a great pleasure. So he's here with us to help in this discussion. So, and thank you for the invitation, Ben.
Olha, Sandra,
And the
muito
floor is
obrigado.
yours.
Você me pode escutar? Você me
Sandra, can
pode
you
ouvir?
hear me?
Valeu. Então posso continuar.
It's a little bit low.
Puxa, eu acho eu não tenho possibilidade.
And I don't have this possibility.
Vamos lá,
Let's see, it's good. Yes.
vamos lá, eu vou ver se tem aqui uma possibilidade, mas eu acho que não, tem que ser assim. Eu vou gritar. Ah, ótimo, ótimo. Então, Sandra, muito obrigado, não, também para os
And
outros
Sandra, thank you so
organizadores desse
much.
evento,
Thank you
não,
for
que
all
que
the
eu acho
organizers.
extremamente interessante, não?
And I
E
think
de
it's very
verdade
versatile
é um
and
momento crítico para discutir
it
exatamente
is a
isso.
critical
E
moment for
puxa,
us
esse
to
grande
discuss
desafio de
this
reunir
great
tantas pessoas de
challenge
diferentes
that we have
países
in the
nesses
different
grupos de trabalho.
contexts.
Gente, parabéns, não? Eu
Congratulations,
não tenho
guys.
dúvidas que esses
I
últimos
have
3
no doubt that
dias
in these last 3
geraram
days,
impactos fortes para
we
todos
had a
que
lot of good
participaram, não?
impacts for
E
everyone
gerou
that have
estímulos
participated
e novas
and
forças para todos os
stimulations
participantes,
and
não? Quando
efforts
eles
for
voltam
everyone to
para
participate as much
trabalhar no
as
seu
possible.
dia a dia, não? E, no melhor dos casos, não?
So,
Como sempre
in the
nesses
best of
eventos, não?
cases,
Tem essa expectativa
we
que
have this
depois nós vamos
expectation
cooperar ainda mais intensivamente do que
more
antes, não?
intensively.
Ótimo.
So, it's going to be
Então, como a
great.
Sandra já falou,
As
eu
Sandra
sou
said,
da minha natureza, sou pesquisador da
I
Universidade de
am a
Freiburg, mas
researcher
estou
in
aqui
Freiburg,
na GIZ
but I am
tentando
here
de coordenar
in
todas essas novas possibilidades de
GIZ
trabalhar com
to
bioeconomia
coordinate these
e
other
necessariamente também
possibilities
com produtos florestais não
with
madeireiros, não?
forest
Um,
products.
agir, só para explicar isso, porque muitas
And
vezes é
just to
mal
explain a little bit
entendido,
to you,
agir não é um
GIZ
financiador
is
de
not a
cooperação
financier
internacional. Nós
of
estamos uma
international cooperation.
implementadora de
We are an
políticas de
implementer
nosso Ministério de
of this, and
Cooperação
our
Técnica, não?
ministry
Então, nós estamos
has to
implementando
do with this
políticas
technique. We are
discutido
implementing
e
this
negociado em outros lugares.
discussions
E nós
negotiated in other
estamos
places.
a implementadora
So
técnica
we are
dessas
implementing
políticas
these
e tem
techniques,
outra
these
implementadora que é a KfW,
areas,
que é a implementadora das
and
políticas
there are ones
financeiras
that are from the financial
dessas políticas de
institutions,
cooperação
these
técnica.
policies of
Aqui no
technical
Brasil
cooperation.
estamos
Here in
já
Brazil,
mais de 60, eu acho 65
we have
anos
more
estamos
than
trabalhando, não?
60
E
years
principalmente já desde o
working here,
início com florestas, com
especially
essa ideia
now
de,
in the beginning
de preservar as
with this
florestas e também de
preservation of these
fortalecer
forests.
as comunidades e
We
as
can
famílias que
strengthen the
estão vivendo
communities
nesses contextos
that are
florestais. Não?
living
Isso
in
não só
this
no Brasil,
context,
mas eu
not
acho que todo
only in
mundo conhece
Brazil, but
pessoas da
also
GIZ trabalhando nos outros países.
for
Não?
GIZ that is working in
E
other
a
countries.
bioeconomia faz parte dessa
So the
ideia. E como
bioeconomy is part
o
of
Nabil
this.
já falou, não, tem
And
muitas
like Nabil
ideias de
has talked
bioeconomia. E
before,
nós aqui na
we
GIZ
have many of
trabalhamos a
this context
bioeconomia
here
como
in
um
GIZ,
conceito
and we support
transformativo,
that in this
de uma
context,
econômica
in this
clássica para uma
transformative
econômica diferente,
way.
não, com base de um
It
uso
comes in a
sustentável dos
different way
recursos
with a
naturais
sustainable point
de
of
forma
view
justa.
in a fair
E
way. So
no Brasil
in
estamos
Brazil,
então, é mais ou menos uma
it's more or
reinvenção
less like this.
da ideia
There's a
clássica
new
de
invention
uso sustentável,
and the
de
sustainable
manejo florestal
use
sustentável.
of
Não?
this
E
sustainable
hoje em dia
development,
estamos
and
trabalhando aqui no
nowadays
Brasil com
we are
várias
working here in
cadeias de
Brazil
valor, não?
in
Castanha,
several
açaí, cacau,
value
pirarucu,
chain.
canaúba, babaçu.
So
Há até uma grande diversidade de
we are
produtos
going to
florestais
have
para a
a
produção de
diversity of
óleos e essenciais.
products
E
for
trabalhamos
this inclusion,
principalmente
and
em
we work
cooperação
mainly
com o
in
Ministério de Agricultura, o
cooperation
MAPA,
with the
lá o
Ministry of
Secretaria
Agriculture
de
and
Agricultura
Livestock,
Familiar
MAPA,
e secretários nos
and the
estados, não?
secretaries
Mas
of the
também
states
temos
also.
cooperação,
And we
parcerias
have the
diretas com o
cooperation
setor
and direct
privado, não?
partnership with the
Que também estão
private
muito
sector
interessados na
that are
bioeconomia.
interested
E
in the
estamos
economy.
conjunto, estamos trabalhando em várias
So
frentes,
we are
políticas
together
públicas,
working in different
fortalecimento de
public
cooperativas,
policies,
mobilização de
strengthening
setor privado,
and mobilization
capacitação em
of the private
bioeconomia e,
sector
finalmente,
in the
claramente, o
bioeconomy,
financiamento que
and
justamente
finally
ouvimos do parte
That
do
is something
BNDES.
that we
E nosso
work with
trabalho
most.
confirma,
Our
em
work
grandes partes, o grande
confirms
potencial da
a great
bioeconomia.
space, a
Não?
great potential
Podemos, nesse
moment,
sentido, podemos
and in this
confirmar
sense,
as
we can confirm
observações
the observations,
informes de muitos dos palestrantes e comunicações
informs that
durante esses
the
últimos 3
lecturers
dias. Não? Na
can do
realidade,
this in the
as
last days. So,
preocupações com a mudança
the
climática
worries that we
e a
have in regards to the
visibilidade
impact
das
and the
consequências
visibility
da econômica clássica,
of
não?
the
E a inclusão do setor privado como
inclusion
parceiro
of the
na
private
agenda
sector
de
as a partner
Sustainable Development Goals,
in
não?
the
Gerou contexto
sustainable
muito
development
favorável para
goals.
fomentar a bioeconomia. Não? Estamos
It has come
experienciando
to
uma
do
grande
this. We are
onda, não?
experimenting this great
De
wave
ações, não? De
of
criatividade, não?
actions,
E
of creativity,
possibilidades de
of
tecnológicos,
possibilities
de digitalização
in
e
terms of
mais interesses de
technology and
toda parte da
digitalization.
sociedade na
They are
bioeconomia,
part of the
inclusive o
society.
setor privado, o setor
And this
financeiro
private
e os
sector
governos, que não
and the
sempre foram
governments,
parte
they are
dessa
part
agenda de
of this
desenvolvimento
agenda
sustentável. Não?
and the
E
sustainable
essa situação gera mais
movement.
possibilidades
This
reais
situation
de
generates
fazer essa ideia de
more
bioeconomia
possibilities
funcionar. Não tem
for us
dúvida
to make
sobre
the
isso.
bioeconomy
E como
work.
resultado, não se tem
And
muitas
as a
pessoas, muitos
result,
atores, muitas
many
organizações
actors, many
trabalhando com
organizations,
financiamento, não tem experiências muito promissor, não? Temos novos
and
produtos,
many
novas
promising
tecnologias,
products, new
novos
technologies,
financiamentos, novas
many
organizações dispostas em
financial
facilitar esses
areas
processos
that
inovadores,
can do
não?
this
E
innovative
essa
process.
galera de
So,
atores, não, de
this
todo
area
canto, não,
all over the place,
eles têm inventado já muitas
they have
possibilidades de
invented many
desenvolver, estabelecer,
possibilities
fortalecer as
to
cadeias de
develop
valor
and strengthen
de
the
produtos
value
florestais,
chains
não? Inclusive políticas
in the
públicas
forest
mais
valley, the
favoráveis,
public policies
logísticas mais
that are more
inteligentes, linhas de
favorable,
crédito que
the
estão
lines of credit
fomentando esses novos
that
investimentos,
can be
cooperativas
taken in this
efetivas e justas, não? E
comparison and
também,
that are
no final,
fair,
também cooperativas e associações
and
fortalecidas
the
e
associations
comunidades
that
e
are
famílias com vida
taken in
melhorável.
these
Não?
communities
E
as well.
como efeito de reforço,
And
nós
how this
observamos
is
também
done is done
crescente interesse
with
de
an effort.
financiadores, governos e
So
empresas. Não? Então, o êxito em si está
the
criando mais
exitus
interesse
as
e mais
for this
investimentos
is
e
for us
mais
to have more
possibilidades. Não?
investments, more
Então, estamos
possibilities.
quase
So
começando a fazer
we are only
esses
starting
aproveitar essas possibilidades e
to make
demais.
this
Então,
change, to
ótimo,
take these
ótimo. Vamos
advantages,
aproveitar essas oportunidades
and
para
let's take
desenvolver a
advantage of this
bioeconomia justa e
opportunity
sustentável. Não?
and really
Mas,
develop
como
this in the
sempre,
best
não?
way.
Se tem oportunidades, não,
If we
também
have the
tem
opportunity,
aspectos que
we also have
podem, dizemos,
aspects
que tem que ser
that
considerado nessa
can be taken
euforia.
into
Não?
account.
Na prática, as coisas não
In
são tão
practice,
fáceis. Não?
things are
Na
not so
realidade, os
easy. In
investidores,
fact,
governos, empresas,
the
a própria
governors, the
cooperação
companies,
internacional, todos
and
querem
the
bons
cooperation,
resultados em
everyone
pouco tempo.
wants the
Não?
best
E a
results in the little
necessidade de
time,
trabalhar com
and the need for us to work
e desenvolver
and
novas
develop
cadeias de valor
new value
financeiramente
chains
viável
that
gera
are
uma dinâmica
financially
que implica
feasible,
vários
generates
desafios. Não? Assim, quais
a
dinâmicas
challenge that is
podemos
very
observar?
nice.
A primeira coisa que nós estamos observando,
The
apesar
first
da
thing that we
grande
can see,
diversidade dos produtos, a grande maioria dos investimentos, dos empreendimentos, da cooperação internacional, trabalha em alguns poucos produtos promissórios. Não? Então, cacau, por exemplo. Não? Todo mundo quer
and
trabalhar com cacau.
cacao, not everyone likes
E
that.
também estamos observando
We are
que
observing that more and more.
esses atores acima dessas
These
cadeias de
actors
valor
above this
não
value chain
trabalham com todos os produtores.
do not work
Eles
with
se
all of their
concentram
producers.
muitas vezes em
They
os
concentrate
produtores
themselves
mais capacitados, mais
with more
poderosos, mais mais
capacity
perto da necessidade de uma
closer to the
produção
need of this
financeiramente
production
viável.
that
Não?
is
Também
feasible.
estamos observando processo de estandarização da produção e dos produtores. Não? Então,
So we are working in this.
estamos enfrentando essa necessidade. Se queremos algo que é financeiramente viável, nós temos que estandarizar as quantidades, as qualidades,
The
e mesmo os
qualities, the
produtores, não?
quantities can
Porque
be
só
very
os
nice.
produtores estandarizados, com tecnologias estandarizadas e maneiras de organização estandarizadas,
And we
podem
can
produzir
standardize that
produtos estandarizados. Não?
as well.
E como sempre, sim,
Ben, I'm sorry, but you have just one
puxa.
more minute.
Então,
Okay.
temos também uma observação que
We have another
para
observation
assegurar e garantir
for us to guarantee
essa viabilidade financeira,
this
processo de
feasibility
intensificação,
in this
processo de
intensification
agregação e
process
homogenização também.
and
Não?
homogenization
Então,
as well.
essa dinâmica mostra o risco que o aproveitamento da
This
grande
makes
onda de
the
interesse
risk
em bioeconomia
in
implica
bioeconomy
também
be
a
implied
adaptação da
in
lógica
the
econômica
adaptation.
clássica na
The
bioeconomia.
classic logic
Não?
economy and the bioeconomy.
E isso provoca o perigo de
And this
paradoxo, que o
it
uso
creates like a
comercial da
paradox because the commercial
sociobiodiversidade
use of
pode
social
contribuir para a
biodiversity may
marginalização
contribute to
dos
the
já
marginalization
marginalizados.
of
Não?
those who are
E
already being
pode
put on the
acontecer que a
side.
pressão de
And
desenvolver
eventually,
uma
like the
bioeconomia
pressure, like to
financeiramente
develop like a
viável,
financial viable
está
bioeconomy
excluindo exatamente
will
os grupos
exclude
dos
the groups
produtores que têm
of the
a maior
producers
diversidade
that have
cultural
the biggest
e a
cultural
menor
diversity
responsabilidade para
and the
esse processo de
least
desmatamento.
responsibility in this deforestation process.
Então, olhando dessas dinâmicas,
So when we
não
look at
quer
all this
dizer que a
dynamic,
bioeconomia não
it
tem
doesn't mean
grande
that
potencial. No
bioeconomy
contrário,
doesn't
o
have a
uso
potential.
de produtos não madeireiros florestais com
On the
base em
contrary,
sistemas
like non-tender
de produção
products
sustentável e
with a
justo, tem
sustainable
grande
and fair
potencial para
production methods, there is a
desenvolvimento
huge
sustentável e
potential
justo.
for the
Mas temos
fair
que cuidar que o uso da
development of the bioeconomy.
diversidade
But we have
não
to
destrui a diversidade
care
ambiental
that
e social
biodiversity won't destroy the diversity,
dizemos,
as we
efeito
say, like
de nossa maneira de trabalhar.
an effect of our way
Então,
of
para
working.
evitar
So just like to
cair
prevent,
nessa trampa, eu quero,
like to
no final,
fall in
dar
this trap,
três,
I
dizemos,
would like to
recomendações. Não? O primeiro
make like 3 recommendations. First one is
que nós temos que falar muito claramente
that we have to
com
speak clearly
discursos bem definidos, não?
with
Sobre
very
o que
clear
estamos falando,
speeches of
queremos,
what
o
we're
que
talking
significa
about, what
bioeconomia.
does it mean, like
Gerar
bioeconomy is to
crescimento econômico ou
promote
melhorar
growth, economic growth, or improve
estabelecer uma vida boa para os
like good
produtores e
living for the
comunidades
producers
nesses
and
contextos de
communities
florestas, não?
and the
Que
forest
exatamente
context,
são
because
produtos
this is
florestais,
exactly
não? São
how
produtos
they
da
could
floresta ou são produtos
contribute, like
que
forest
dia
products
eram da
or
floresta, mas hoje
products
são
that were once like from the
produzidos
forest, but
em
now
sistemas
are being
altamente
produced in
intensificados, não? E qual
intensified
é o objetivo final da
productive systems.
bioeconomia?
And
Não?
then
É
like
objetivo
we have
econômico
economic
ou
objectives
objetivo
and we
social?
have social objectives.
Também é muito importante
And
que
also it's very
todos
important.
nós que estamos fazendo
So we have to stop. If you please come to
então,
an
é muito
end.
importante
So it's very important
desenvolver
to develop
bioeconomia com base na
bioeconomy
perspectiva local e não
with
na
a local
perspectiva do
based
governo
perspective,
ou dos
not the
investidores
government or investors or
qualquer
any
outras pessoas. É
other
importante concentrar
stakeholders. So
nossos
it's important to
esforços de
focus our
desenvolvimento de
efforts
uma
and development
bioeconomia
of a
sustentável e
bioeconomy
justo
fair and
nos
sustainable
marginalizados, comunidades e
with
famílias nas
communities
florestas.
and families.
Obrigado.
Thank
Desculpe
you.
pela
Sorry, like for going a little bit over time. So thank you, Beno. So we will have questions for you, I'm pretty sure. But now we will move on to our next lecturer, and then we will move to the questions. So if you could answer the questions using the chat, will be great. And then we can promote a dialogue with our participants. So thank you very much, Benno. So now I would pass the floor to two other presenters that will make a joint presentation, Ana Maria Gonzalez from the World Bank and Luna Matilha Cardenas from the Amazonian Institute of Scientific Investigation. So Ana Maria Gonzalez with a master's degree in environmental economy, working in the Andes region, and also a degree from the George Washington University. And Ana Maria is an environmental senior specialist at the World Bank, and she's been working since 2008. Currently, she works in a program like Sustainable Environment in the Amazon. And Luz Marina Martila, she's a biologist and chemistry, licensed by the Los Angeles University with a master's degree in government and public policies in the Columbian University. She's a researcher and a professor, and she acts as director general in the Amazonian region. So the floor is theirs, Ana Maria and Luz Marina. So thank you very much for accepting the invitation to be here. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, everyone. I will speak in Spanish, so I'm a little bit sick, so I hope that everything comes out fine. So as Sandra mentioned, so I will talk a little bit about the program, like environmental landscape sustainable program, and the approach that the World Bank has in Latin America in terms of bioeconomy and functions based in nature. So can you see my screen? Yes, we can. So the program, so the environmental sustainable landscape, so this is related to the Environment Fund and the World Bank and some agencies, is to enhance like the landscape and some priority areas in Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Guyana, Peru, and the Suriname. And it's divided into areas like from 2008 to 2024. And there is a second phase, and we count on regional projects that promote the exchange of experiences. So the regional projects, we have some environmental agencies in each country, and they are executed by public institutes from the civil society. So national projects, they also provide service to the preparation of the projects. So the main objective to enhance this work in the landscape and the environment and the ecosystem, it's been done using 4 pillars, and we could denominate as the mark for the understanding of bioeconomy that look for the agricultural land and that has the restoration and sustainable development in terms of like a social and economic development. And we also think as a pillar with family farming and the landscape, and they are complementary to the conservation areas, affecting like indigenous lands and also other areas. And due to all the characteristics of the policies and inputs, like to receive the available production and the conservation activities and elements that would promote the strengthening and the collaboration of the program as a program and not something independent. And in our work, a little bit of the analysis that we have, that it's important to promote the bioeconomy. We have too many reasons. We have 5 here. First, because the potential to connect like the conservation of the biodiversity with the sustainable development, from the traditional knowledge and innovation, and also with emphasis to enhance the life conditions. So bioeconomy as an incentive that aims like to stop the loss of biodiversity, the degradation, and also natural resources. So also we want to promote economic activities and ensure food security of the local networks. Also like to strengthen like the community networks of work, strengthening social capital, and also the reconstruction that happened post-crisis, addressing also like weather climate changes and crisis. At this moment, the very first phase of the program, it includes like projects. We are currently carrying on like 60 initiatives among Colombia and Brazil and Peru. More than 5,000 people enrolled and providing support to all the value chain. And we have many, so we want to know what kind of products are providing the support at this first moment with ASL1. So here we have some examples of the products that we work with. And then just like to close, and how we've learned and what that we want to share with you with the ASL and other interventions of social agencies that are part of the program. So we are promoting the bioeconomy under this integrated landscape. And this is part of the territorial planning that has like a bond that it's very clear between like urban and rural, everything that is needed to promote this flow of this value chains. And also what is important to involve like other sectors and promoting things that are not restricted to the ministries and government bodies that are related to transportation, trade, and other sectors. On the other hand, it's a project for a long run that require like norms and regulations very clear, and all the proper conditions for the economy to flourish. And we want to promote the knowledge and benefits for the local community. So for the long run, not only like the valuation and the use for the standing forest, so in such a way that we will prevent and promote not creating like deforestation, because we're going to promote like process for the economy with no restriction, but we can may incur in that risk. And also we have an opportunity like for the restoration of the forest. So in degraded areas, including in a more sustainable fashion. So it's important like to keep such a scheme so the consumers also know and understand the products are available, where they come from and the benefits associated, and what are the benefits that the producers are receiving. So we want to work with the local community and promote knowledge and tangible benefits for them, where it's important to take consideration of the different roles among men and women. So now I'll pass the floor to my friend, the director of the Institute. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. So thank you for sharing this and this opportunity for us to share what we've been working on. So the Institute is connected to the Ministry of Environment in Colombia. that may contribute and provide support for the growth of the forestal non-tender products. And something else that has been mentioned are the value chains. That happens like strengthening the community organizations. So what I would like to say briefly is that we are promoting like the local development in a horizontal conversation that we keep on a daily basis with the communities. What we are going to see a little bit further, we have like a forestal inventory. And we've identified many species like non-tender products, and we've been debating what the processes that help us to identify the maintenance of these non-tender products in terms of like market strategy and value chain. And finally, in some cases, we also create means like to ensure the sustainability of the resources for the products. In this slide, I want to show lots of things. So what we've been working on in non-tender forestal products.
Here in Colombia, 70% of the things that we do in this area of the Amazon region, the subject of restoration of the non-timber products when they are key in several of the subjects. So this connection with the forests in the Amazon region and the agro livestock scenario and the topics that we have to solve to contribute with this connection and to decrease this deforestation. We have more or less 226 families, 20 through 2,000 hectares, and 221 species. So this species in the different areas of the forests. So this agroforest, they are in the value chain and they are supported, oriented by some natural environment. There is a connection to the value chain. And in other processes that we have, I need to highlight that two specific subjects through innovation and technology. So we have a lot of experience getting these products from these different areas to generate resources for this value chain that I'm going to mention later. There are 5 minutes left. During this reflection, I would like to say that the process through the standardization, the quality and the knowledge of these materials is really important for them to be in a specific areas of the commerce and the areas. But in here we need to talk about standardization as well. And also, it is important to say that before we used to have sustainable development, and we have the topic of connectivity and environmental issue. Next one, please. Finally, I'm going to talk about innovation, the scientific knowledge, something that I find key in the Amazon region for the climate change, the decrease of these emissions in the continuity of the non-determined contributions in the country to avoid that the continue destroying our forests to generate income and jobs in the area, the governance and the capacities. This is a topic that is always very important for all of our countries to improve the infrastructures and for us to mobilize what we do. Let's go to the last slide for us. The subject would be that the Amazon is part of this experience. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We thank you so much for your cooperation. Now we have some questions here in the chat. Afterwards, we are going to answer your questions. So please put them in the chat, okay? We have some questions for Beno, but the questions for you girls is going to show soon. We have Julia, who has followed her presentation here before because she's not in Brazil and it's very late, so she has sent her project to us. She works with different projects with the value chain and non timber products material. So now Julia Mui from FAO. I would just like people to send the list of presents here for us. And before we begin, I would like to say that Julia is here with us. She can answer the questions through the chat. So you can send your questions to us and we are going to read them, provide translation from the question and from the answer. Okay? And we thank you so much. That would be great, okay? And now Julia Mui's presentation.
We'd like to thank Julia for the video, and she is with us in the chat, and we do have questions for her. And so I have a question for Benno that I would like to address to him. So please, Benno, one of your final remarks, and then Ana Maria and Luz, so then they can, we have some questions addressed to Luz. So Benno, please, please be very brief with your answer, okay, for your final remarks. So we have a question from Roberto from Embrapa, and he's asking about the strategies that you identify to extend to the communities that practice the sustainable wood maneuver, and also more financial support for the bioeconomy incentives. So please, if you could talk a little bit about it, and then close. We still have some other agendas for the day, and I thank you in advance. Can't hear. We can't hear you, Benno. We can't hear you. Is it better now? Okay, can you hear me now? Yes, yes, we can hear you. Yeah, now we can hear you. So I don't know, but so first, Roberto, good afternoon. So such a long time we haven't seen each other. So we have one very specific product that you were mentioning with high potential for the bioeconomy, and for one reason or another, in this wave of bioeconomy, it's not enough considered like wood, because this wood community wave, we are 20 years behind, but we still have a huge potential. So the biggest problem of community maneuver, it only works in large scale, because technologies recommended are technologies of very high investment with heavy machinery. So the community forestal maneuver, it should be an activity that should be more manual. Then the communities can do that in an autonomous way without companies or any other people helping them. And that implies that you must value the smaller volume that the community is producing. Therefore, I believe that the main challenge is like to look for new markets that value like small volumes with special products. And the special product is the wood processed in a very manual way, and the community forests. And one possibility that I can see is, for instance, to take advantage of the possibilities of trackability based in DNA. So we can show, even in a stronger way for the end consumer, that this product is indeed special. Thank you. I would like to pass the floor now to Ana Maria and then Luz. I know that Luz has already answered the question using the chat, but if you want to give your final remarks, we thank you once again. Thank you very much. I've already answered using the chat, and we have the web page of the program. And using the web page, you can get in touch with us anytime. And it was asked if the presentations are available. I don't know if the organizers will make them available, but in our presentations, you have our email. So thank you very much. Thank you all, Ana Maria. And thank you, I was also very happy with this presentation today. It was a very interesting option. It's a sustainable option for the Amazon region. We do have complex problems, and this is a way to stabilize local communities. So when it comes to the question, I would like to say something to Roberto, that in this particular case, we are working with genetic resources. So it's very important that when we talk about genetic resources or the equitable distribution of resources, things get a little bit confused. So what I would like to say to you that at this moment, we have a very interesting situation with cupuaçu, that in Colombia, with the capital region, it's a species to be planted. It's not a native species, and we have a work with a value chain with butter made from cupuaçu. And what would be this butter? So butter is an expression that we use. We have an association of two different local commissions process. One of them processes the cupuaçu, and the other generates or produces the cupuaçu. So we have a technology transference to extract the butter from cupuaçu, and we have an alliance with the Natura Cosmetics, and also we have the institute that participates and ensures the stability of the product with the local communities. So this is a very interesting opportunity. So Benno is absolutely right. It adds a lot of value. But this is a process that it's going to be progressive. We do have other experiences, and it would be interesting to promote a discussion with all these subjects that should be present in the reality. So thank you for the opportunity to talk to the people with this very interesting public that we have here today. And thank you once again for listening to me. So I will pass the floor back to Nerlucin with the moderation, and then we'll just like talk a little bit about everything that was said today. So I thank you all, and everything is going to be very helpful, and with the chat and all the presentations that we are going to share with all of you for sure. So thank you very much once again, and Julia will answer the questions in the chat. So thank you very much for the participation of everyone. So the questions are on the chat. So please answer the questions to everyone. Sometimes it's only like, so answer to everyone, okay? So thank you very much. So now we are moving on to the final remarks and to the closing. So follow-ons. So the numbers of our events.
So in these 3 days that we've stayed here, we had more or less the participation of 80 people. And until yesterday, we had 220 participants. And the first day, we had 122 institutions, different institutions in different countries: Brazil, Colombia, Peru, USA, France, French Guiana, Italy, United Kingdom, Honduras, Suriname, Costa Rica, and Germany. So it was really amazing. The general numbers of participants in the 23 2023 was 180, institutions 102, countries 13. The number of general participants were 220. We had some technological failures, but I'm sorry about that. And we had a huge participation anyway. So I think everyone were able to participate. So in the work groups, we had 32 participants in GT2, 78, in GT3, 28, GT4, 51, and GT5, 50. And from those, in the groups, we had 18 speakers, and from the proposals that we had, 142 of them. We had several challenges, several opportunities, but we had many proposals. We want to increment that so that we are able to incentivize this bioeconomy as much as possible. Now I'm going to ask you, Sandra is already saying, but we can put the evaluation here in the chat for us to be able to continue with that, with the follow-ups. Okay, Sandra, it's your turn. Hi guys, I'm having issues to turn on my camera. You can. It's I know, but I cannot do that. Let's see. Yes, now I can. Okay, so can you guys see the slides? We can see Julia presentation actually. Okay, let's go. Let's see. Now you can see it? Yes. Perfect. So guys, let's talk a little bit about how we can follow from now on after this event. Those were 4 days that we stayed here. We have more clarity of this potential and how to act jointly. The proof of that was the GTs. So we leave with the baggage of this concept of the economy that we want and that we proposed in the beginning, where we predict that this is part of the productive biodiversity and in respect to the traditional communities that live in the forest. We reached our event for those who were here with us that could follow us. We had in the opening session the Joaquim Belo and many people that brought a lot of updated information, information about the non-timber materials, the statistics. Ricardo talked about the challenges that we need to face that is developed in the Amazon region. We highlighted the participation of young people, and that is being discussed everywhere in the work groups. We had Joaquim Bell, who had talked about these challenges from the view of those who conserve the forest and extractivists. They highlighted the importance of us being able to do this and the knowledge that we should have in the communities, and also afterwards having the GTs where we were able to to talk through the different themes. And now we immediately after that had our final table about the 5 different lectures that talked about the programs that exist. They have talked about the importance of that in the economy, the importance of the concept being a proposal that is transforming, and we also could follow the Sustainable Landscape program in the Amazon region by the World Bank, and also we saw some institutes and how this is expressed. We saw these projects happening from one side to the other, and we counted with Julia's presentation that contributed a lot in the different states. So we counted with a lot of information that we're going to need for our final document in our event. Besides that, we're going to have the invitation and proposals that are going to be developed as well. So this was enriching, and we don't want to miss any of that. We would like to create a network for us to be able to activate that in our event. We are going to follow this information on how we're going to build this project. So we're going to share from the platform. So with the result of the biodiversity in 2022, this document is going to bring in general lines a presentation about the motivation of building this movement and the history of Pestalk. And in the second chapter, we are going to have the bioeconomy and the different areas and the concept of bioeconomy that were really discussed all the time and reinforced by Breno. We're going to have a chapter to talk about this in Latin America and the Caribbean. We had many people that represented FAO as well and Julia as well. It's very important for us to gather this information. So we want to bring this to this document and to work on the premises for the development of the bioeconomy and the forests. So we had a lot of preparatory meetings. So in this forum, we have a lot to talk about, and to end, it's really important. We would like for in this document count with the presentation of the proposals of development in the economy, thinking about the different areas that were presented and built during the days. We can systematize them and compose this chapter. So we are going to see that we have this possibility of building this in this orienting document for this discussion. So it's going to count with the collaboration of everyone that participated here with us. Thank you so much for signing your name in the presence sheet. We're going to take into considerations the ones that participated here with us. So the development of the forests and these developments are going to be really important. We thank you so much, all of the participants, and I would like to take advantage of this to reinforce that we are together here with a set of institutions and we need each other. We are gathering ourselves here to do the bioforest. That's it. Thank you so much. I'm gonna stop sharing and give the floor back to Nelusi. Thank you so much, Sandra, reinforcing the importance of the list because that is going to be our communication with you, with what we're going to do afterwards, with the videos, the recordings. All of this material are going to be sent to you. They're going to be on YouTube, and we're going to put the entire documents in the platform Pix. So all of this is going to be sent to you by these emails. Now we are reaching the end. So this event has begun for years ago, but last year we've had a huge effort with a huge group, and it's interesting for us to be here. So each person from each institutions that were part of this, you can do your final speech. So I'm going to start with Fabiana Prado from IP, the Institute of Biological Researches. I cannot open my camera, Nelusi, but you can. I don't know why. Oh, okay. Okay, so I would like to thank you all and say that this bioeconomy agenda that I work with, so this agenda, so we really believe in this project and the institutions and the populations. And we work a lot in partnership. I really love working in partnership, and we need to work with actions, projects, and other areas from WWF Brazil. Thank you very much, Nelusi. I would like to say that on behalf of WWF Brazil, it was great participating in this network since last year. We are working together. This forum was the consolidation of our work, and even though the context in Brazil are not very favorable, this was a clear demonstration. We have a social movement from the civil society and servers that are committed in the public organs. The agenda is there. This is very important. So we had a huge result during the week. And for sure, thinking about this Latin American integration related to bioeconomy is very important. For the non-timber products was a very important space for us to share these experiences and to know a little bit about our work. And with that, I would like to end my speech saying that this is really enriching. During this week, we've learned a lot, and the different organizations that were doing this event. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kobe. Now I will invite Marcos Levy from CACE. Hello, can you hear me? So I'll be speaking in Spanish, representing the CACE, the Latin American network of model forests. It was a pleasure. So I would like to thank you all very much, all my friends here, like from Brazil and also from all the other organizations, Brazilian and all the other countries that contributed for this, to make this event possible. So the impression I have is, I do not know how to say that, but it has created, because this is just the beginning, and it was very interesting to, so I believe that the formation of this huge network is going to be a very important moment to foster this movement. So on the behalf of CATI and our networks, we are available to following in this process, and also and talking on behalf of Jorge and the others. And to close, I would like to, we are planning on a small project to put together like a bioeconomy courses and non-Tinder products. That very soon we will be in touch with all of you, so you can provide the support of to set up this training course. And it's important like to keep the records in your attendance list, so you can receive the invitation for this course. Thank you. Thank you, Max. So now Vicente Guadalupe from OTCA. So thank you, Ana Lucy. I will also speak in Spanish, which is my native language. I would like to thank you all for the work and opportunity to be here. And I would also like to thank you as an institution, OTCA. And it's very important, this joint work that we do, and this will enable us in OTCA to have important inputs that came from all of you to develop this kind of work that we have to develop the biodiversity program, and also like forest program that has been approved last year with the consensus of all countries. So we are very motivated to move on and providing support to the initiatives that were raised here. And the very first thing was already been put in the platform, all about the experiences and presentations. And this is a mechanism so we can be on a permanent contact. So I thank everyone, like the team and all the participants, for your availability and sharing your experience with all of us. Thank you, Vicente. And now, Ana Euler from Embrapa. Good afternoon. On behalf of Embrapa, I would like to thank all my friends here and all the institutions, everyone who was part of this process this week and one more year, especially when we look at Sandra during this special moment. So all the due merits to our organizer, Sandra, a very important leader during this process for the Brazilian Forestal Service. And Lucy, I would like to congratulate you, and a special thank you to you and to the whole team from EP that conducted it so well that wouldn't be possible otherwise. So I'd like to say that it was an incredible learning. So meeting all this network of collaboration and building this concept of bioeconomy, the well-being of everyone. I'm well motivated and challenged all this learning, I will bring this to my institution. We do have an opportunity, which is a public notice, that it's focused in strategic intelligence to build up a national policy for biodiversity, implementing public policies. So I would like to say that I can count, I believe that I can count on all of you and your institutions that we can do it together, because this is like an unfold of this work that we did together. So I will stop here, saying that I am sure, and I would like to share that with everyone here, that beyond everything that we set up together, I believe that this group, more than 220 people, will still have other opportunities ahead of us, and we have to move on together. Thank you, Ana. And now, Janaína Diniz. Good evening, everyone. And like with the assessment of the event, I would like to say that after this forum, I'm thrilled by this joint effort, and also like well informed that we still have to process a lot of data and new references, scientific, cultural, of the reality of each different country participating here. And I feel challenged to continue with this articulation that we began since 2019, so we can continue promoting these actions in the BioForestALC. So we proposed a lot of things, now we have to make it do. So as a professor at the University of Brasilia, I act in two different postgraduate programs, environment and rural development, sustainability in the traditional lands. And in the programs, we currently work with students and friends in research, and we've been developing everything related to products for the social biodiversity. Since these policies for the strengthening of the organizations and territory, communities and traditional peoples were being implemented more than 10 years ago. And in our university in Brasilia, we can highlight few projects like research, extension projects, and also like theses and papers that help this network of research for development and innovation with a focus in the bioeconomy of non-timber forestal products. And I don't know if Professor Álvaro is here. I would like to thank him. He's a friend of ours, and he was part of the GT1. We also have the postgraduate program in environment and sustainable development as environmental sciences. We do have a lab that is very interesting to think about, like comparative studies in the region, and they work with that, not with the focus on bioeconomy, but we can get close to them. And as we've been talking about the interdisciplinary programs, they are all interdisciplinary. So I would like to highlight the possibility to involve a center in innovation in family farming that has implemented courses like EAD in the extractivism in Cerrado and family farming in a partnership with the UNICAF, which is the Union for the Cooperatives, and most recently provided support for the training course with the GIZ, and we do have other partners that were here in the GT. And to close, I would like to thank deep from my heart the whole team. I'm not going to name everyone, but Sandra, longtime partner, and I'm impressed with the full support from IP, especially Lucy and Fabiana since last year, and all the other partner organizations that contributed to make this event. So it was incredible learning experience. And to close, I would like to say that the UNB is available to receive all of you. Maybe in the next BioForestALC on site, if it happens in Brazil. But I believe that we will have other countries interested in realizing it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Janaína. And now Sandra Alfonso from the Forestal Service in Brazil. I'll be very brief, not to burst in tears. So like we made it happen. This is not the end. This is just like the beginning of a new story. And we hope that in doing that, we will move on together, strengthening our network. I'd like to remind you that it happened and the original idea from our participation in a task force, the non-tender products in a union of forestal researchers. And we were participating actively, and then we had this proposal. And a year ago, it was just a dream then, and now we are here. One of the climax of the project, like the forum, and it was a process that was very interesting indeed. So Janaína, Ana, and I, we began making it happening. And we saw other people coming in, institutions, CATI, IP, came full blast, and OTCA with a platform, and WWF with COBA's participation always present. Like bringing a lot of people with them. So institutions brought people, not only from the institutions, but also all the people that tag along. And due to the trust that they place on the institutions. So I'd like to thank everyone, all the institutions, all the partners, all the people to be here with us. So I work with Forestal Service in Brazil, and also as a volunteer professor at the UNB. So I thank everyone for the partnership and everyone who took part in this event. So impressive results, not by chance, but that was due to everyone's participation. I'm very grateful. And so let's move on together in this BioForestALC. Thank you, Sandra. Just for the end, would like to place a few thanks. So we had the representative, those who were from the institutions, but this event only happened because a lot of people in the backstage was happening and making it happen. So first, I would like to thank the financial support from the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, Bnds and the Amazonian Fund, the Brazilian Forestal Service, and the Amazonic Cooperation Treaty Organization, UTCA. Also, a special thanks for those who had the scientific and technical conception to many meetings until today. So Sandra and Fatima from the SFB, Ana and Judson from Embrapa, Janaína and Bruna from UNB, Fabiana and myself from IP, Kobe from WWF, Jorge, Evelyn and Max from CATI, and Vicente from OTCA. And the work groups, we had the coordination support. Some made presentations, but we had other people, Sandra and Fatima from the SFB, Ana Euler from Embrapa, Janaína, Álvaro, and Bruna from UNB, Fabiana from IP, Kobe, WWF, Jorge, Evelyn, and Max from CATI, Patricia from UFOPA, Juliana from ESPN, and Gabriela Coelho from the UFGRS. And those were our lecturers. Luiz Carrasa, Camila Guzmão, Sebastião Pereira, Fabiano Ruas, Sandra Scherer, Karina Pimenta, Luana Cordeiro, Cláudia Souza, Nathalie Cialdella, Carlos Pozo, Vladimir Dawa, Leonardo Ruth, Natália Albuquerque, and Eduardo Malta.
Besides that, we had the scientific organization. So thank you so much for the moderation of the groups, Adriana Cabral and Marcela Betti, and the Forest Service of Rafaela Crasto and Juliana Gomes, from the Laboratory of Forest Products, Ana Paula Nakamura, Alexandre Coutinho, Fernanda Pieruzzi, Juliana Rodrigues, and from UNB, the PPG Mother students who are doing the Lawana Silva, Milena Silva, Stephanie Rodrigues, and Bruna Levita. From IP, Angela Pelin, Gustavo Queru, Hércules Quelu, Letícia Lopes, Rafael, Serafim Daisa, and from ACTO, and the interpreters who helped us so much: José Guilherme, Mônica, Érica, Carolina, César, Sofia, Salomão, Raquel, Pedro, Rosita, Priscila, Raquel e Pedro. So now we can stay in touch. You're going to receive all of the publications of the event. Please stay put in your emails. This is the channel of communication and this invitation for this network. Thank you so much. And now I declare our event as being over with a lot of emotion. And so happy to see this production and seeing this first step of our forest network. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so, so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.